Thank you, the Sopranos ARB. This has been a pleasure. Technology was a little difficult, but thank you so much for including me in your program. The Sopranos ARB. Thank you. I started acting as a little boy. I was in a choir, singing in a choir, and I was about 7, 8 years old, and I just loved being in front of people, and that's how I started. They put me in a choir singing, and that's how I started. My grandmother was a great influence. She loved theater. So she was a great influence on me. I auditioned at the Silver Cup Studios in New York, and I had traveled. This was my third audition 3 times, and I traveled back and forth from New York. I flew, and I was exhausted and tired and stressful, you know. And I went up there, and there were 2 other actors auditioning for the same role, and they were wonderful actors. I knew who they were, and it was just madness for me because I thought I could never beat them for the role or get, you know, whatever. But I went in and auditioned with James Gandolfini, may he rest in peace. He's a very lovely man. And then they asked for us to stand up next to each other, and he is 6'3", big man. And I'm 5'7", 5 feet 7 inches. And I thought, this is it. I'll never get the job. I'm too short. And that's exactly what they loved, that I was shorter than him, and he was still frightened of me. But I told them, if they cast me, if necessary, I can play 6 feet 3 inches, I told them. And they laughed and gave me the job. And that's the story. I describe him as a man who accepts himself and his world and respects his world. And he has made no adjustment. He believes in his world, and this world he enters, he rejects. And after 10 years of being in prison, world has changed, and he's rejecting that. And he's going to bring the world he knows back into their consciousness, is what Richie is about. I always thought he had a very good sense of humor, but nobody understood that Richie was a funny man. He had to be, and that's how I describe him. The conflict between Richie and Tony was very, very simple to me. And that was, who is the true leader? The capo, the leader, the boss. It was as simple as that. And Richie was going to eventually prove that he is the true boss of the group, the mob, the crowd, the gang, the crew. And that was the conflict. Who was the better man? Though Richie was smaller, shorter physically, but he was the bigger man. And that was the conflict. My first day with James Gandolfini, when he threatens me. remember that day, and I like that worked with him that day. Turns out to be memorable for me with him. Yes. It's actually not very funny, but it happened, and I'm going to tell it. It's not, well, it was difficult. I had to play, and they're always awkward, and but you do it because you're an actor. But that day, my daughter, David Proval's daughter, was taken to the hospital to have her baby, my granddaughter, on the same day I was doing, and I was just about to become a grandfather. And she had the baby, and the director came up to me and said, she weighs 7 pounds, 3 ounces, and she is a baby girl, weighs 7 pounds. And I heard it, and here I'm supposed to be playing this murderer, tough guy. And I said, give me a bathrobe. I've got to run out. And I ran outside, and like all good grandfathers, I cried and wiped my tears away and went back to be a tough guy. It's not that funny, but it really happened. Well, I was, of course, personally, David Proval was very disappointed and wanting to stay on me. But for the character, I thought it was perfect, because I didn't think that any other character on the show, on the Soprano, Tony Soprano's men could get Richie. He was too smart for them and too dangerous for them. And it was perfect that it was a woman, the woman in Richie's life, who was the one to end his life. And I thought that was perfect from when I saw the show, and from what I saw of the show when I stand back from the show. So there was two things. One, I was very disappointed, but for the character, I thought it was quite brilliant for David to do that to Richie Aprile. Well, the jacket was very special to Richie, because he really loved James. James. He loved James, it's true, I did, but loved Tony Soprano. And when his heart was broken, Richie, when he saw the other man wearing the jacket, he didn't handle it well. He was very hurt. And what's amazing to me is that people I meet over the years, they always love to say, the jacket, the jacket. And I don't know how many thousands of people have come up to me and said, the jacket. And that's what touched people, was the jacket, because it touched Richie. And to see the tough guy be touched was something people responded to. So I hear it all the time. The jacket. I met him, Marty Scorsese, during a actors workshop. He came to visit through John Voight. It was Jack Waltzer, wonderful teacher in Paris, He's in Paris now. At the time, he was not. He was in New York and Los Angeles, who was my teacher. And that's how I met Marty Scorsese. He came in and sat in another class. And then we met and talked and found out that we had a lot in common. And I was happy to be cast in his movie. And watching the actor Robert De Niro, that was my first movie. And the experience of watching this actor, it was watching A Star is Born, watching him work. Nobody knew who he was yet, although he had worked. But you could see that this was a man of huge talent. And I was just thrilled to be working in front of an actor like that. And I didn't have any reference, but I knew somehow this man, Mr. Scorsese, had a genius. You can sense it in him and see him on a movie set and how he could stand there. And I didn't know much at the time, but he could edit as he stood and watched. He could make the movie, edit the film. And that was amazing to see, man, with so much joy in his heart for the art form, so much joy, love for the work. And that's what I saw in them and Mr. Keitel and Mr. Romanos and the rest of the cast. It was a very special time, that experience. Very special in my life. I would describe him as a young man with an old soul. I've always described him as that. He was a leader. And although there were men older than him on the show, including myself and the great actor Dominic Canese, great actor, who's Uncle Junior, older than him, but he had a leadership quality to be a kind leader and a very kind man and a very sensitive man to his fellow actors. Wonderful, sensitive man. A great loss to the world of theater. He had a lot to offer and a lot to give as an artist. We miss him dearly on film, and the times I could talk to him as just one man to another. A wonderful man is my description. A young man with an old soul. This is James Gandolfini. It is what a lot of people's were. College was the name of the episode. Wait, is it college? He brings his daughter to a college and then he leaves, and he sees a man who is betrayed him, and he kills him, and then goes back to pick up his daughter at the university. And I thought that was an amazing episode. And that's it. Yeah, college. Tony Soprano, Christopher, and Drea De Mayo. I've forgotten the name of her character. Dominic Canese, Uncle Junior, was a favorite character of mine. Uncle Junior. And I like those characters. I had a lot to do with them. And the greatest of all, of course, Tony Soprano. Michael Imperioli, wonderful actor, wound up working with him again in another movie where he was the lead. Wonderful Michael Imperioli, who is on your podcast. No? Yes? I think. Um, and James Gandolfini, of course. It was wonderful to work with. And Drea Di Matteo, I loved her. We worked again too in another movie, Drea and I. And they're all were good actors. Edith Turturro, very good actress. Edith Turturro, wonderful actress, good. And they're all just perfectly cast, you know. Well, I watched the show, and what happened with me was what happened to a lot of people. I thought, oh, my television broke. Oh, no, my television broke. And when I realized that's the way David chose to end his show, I then thought, and I'm going to say it, that it was the pure genius. Life goes on. And we don't need to see they leave it up to the audience what happens. So I thought it was a brilliant genius, and a lot of people didn't. A lot of people got very upset about it, but it was amazing ending, and I've never seen anything like it since. That's up to you. I think that's what David meant. That's up. Who knows? That's up to the audience. For me, I didn't want him to die. I want him to go on, although and I think that's what David meant. It was almost like you write the ending. Life goes on, you write the ending. It gave me a more recognizable presence in the world. I mean, people all over the world and travel. I've traveled and people have come up to me in Paris and Jerusalem and Paris and Italy. Oh, you're Sopranos, and that's amazing to me. Amazing, all of them, the States for sure. New York, especially, of course, New York. You know, it's changed my life where it made me more recognizable to the public, and that changed a lot. You know, so it changes. Yes, it does. When you're in something that is as worldwide as this was, you know, changes. That's how. Well, thank you for watching, and I'm most appreciative of that, and so I'm sure all of us are. So thank you, all the fans of the show in the Arab countries. Thank you.